लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, भक्त शिरोमणि श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की, जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की।
I have a suggestion about sequence, O Pujaris. My suggestion is, because you're still organizing, together we'll chant Brahma Samhita. I'll give us a short lecture, and then depending upon where you are all at, we can have achman, neck beads, taking vows, and then you do the rituals. How's that? Okay. So those of you that have a copy of Sri Brahma Samhita, we can chant together. I chant swiftly, so be prepared. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Briksha Laksha Vratesu Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kanvantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Barhavatam Samasitam Vada Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Malya Vakshi Ratnangadam Pranayakedi Kalavilasam Shamam Tribangalalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pashanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sad Ujjvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedesha Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhaktao Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manasomani Pungavanam Sopyasti Yadva Parasinya Vachincha Tatve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Saurachayatam Jagadanda Koti Yat Shaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhavat Bhavatadiyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahimasha Nayana Bhushaha Suktaryameva Nigama Pratataistavanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalamihi Goloka Eva Nivisadya Kilatma Bhoto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjanitya Rita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Daiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinchu Ganasarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murtushu Kalanya Mena Tishtan Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kinto Krishna Swayam Samavavak Papamanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shvashesha Vasudhari Vivoti Vinnam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Ashesha Bhotam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ayahiyasya Jagadanda Shatani Sute Trigunya Tadvataya Vsheda Vitayamana Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Vishuddha Sattvam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ananda Chinmaya Rasamataya Manakso Yat Praninam Paniparam Smaratamopetya Leelayatena Bhuvanani Jagatya Jasram Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Golokanamni Nijadamni Talecha Tasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Te Te Prabhava Nityayabhi Tasyayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Shristi Te Pradaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichcharurupam Api Yasya Tatesta Tesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Khiram Yatadadhi Vikara Vishesha Yogat Sanjayate Nihitatag Pratagasti Hetoho Yaksam Bhutam Apitata Samupaiti Karyad Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Deeparsha Evda Hidasham Tanam Abhyapetya Deepayateva Vrita Hetu Samana Dharma Yastadrig Eva Hitcha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yatkaranarnava Jale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidramananta Jagadanda Saroma Kumpaha Adara Shakti Vivalambram Pyaram Samurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yasyaika Sit Kalamatavalamya Jivanti Loma Viraja Jagadandanataha Vishnur Mahansi Hayasya Kalabhishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Basvanyatagshma Sakalesha Nirjesha Tejaha Sviyam Kiyad Prakariyad Tadvitadvadatra Brahmaya Esha Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yat Padapayam Vidhaya Kumbha Dvandve Pranama Samaye Saganadi Rajaha Vighan Vihantam Anamachya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Agnir Mehi Kalastatadma Manasita Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yangsha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yachakshari Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Shesha Tejaha Yasyagya Brahmiti Sambrita Kana Chakra Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Karmota Papa Nityaya Shutayasta Panchi Brahmadikit Patagavadiyascha Jivaha Yadatrama Vikaprakata Prabhava Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yastvindra Gopamatavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhanarupa Palabhajanam Atanoti Karmani Nirdahita Kintu Jabhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yam Krodha Kama Saja Pranayadi Biti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sadrishim Tanam Aparete Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Shira Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpa Toravo Druma Bhumis Chintamani Ganamayi Tayamamritam Kata Ganam Natyam Ganamam Api Vangshi Priyasaki Chidanandam Jyoti Param Apitad Asvadyam Apicha Sa Yatrakshirad Bhi Shravati Sarabi Vyasya Sumahan Niveshad Yakyo Vavrajati Nahayatrapi Samaya Vache Shveta Dvipam Tamahamiha Golokam Ityam Vidantaste Shantashati Virala Chara Katipaye Ishara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Special day for a few reasons. One of them, maybe not necessarily in the order of importance, this is an initiation ceremony, but it's the disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami. And in our calendar, it's also Guru Purnima. I've gotten too many letters today, people wishing me a happy Guru Purnima. I want to read you something that Prabhupada wrote about Guru Purnima. Would you like to hear what Prabhupada had to say about Guru Purnima? I thought so. So if you can pay attention, that would really help, so we can all pay attention to what Prabhupada wrote. This is two letters. One is dated August 1969. The letter is written to Gaurasundara. I am glad to learn that you have performed the Guru Purnima ceremony by Kirtan. That is all right, period. But this Guru Purnima is generally performed by Mayavadi sects. The idea of Guru Purnima is to offer gratitude to the spiritual master by the disciple once in a year. That is called Guru Purnima. So far as we are concerned, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we offer our gratefulness to the spiritual master on his appearance day, called Vyasa Puja. So, Kirtan is our daily function, semicolon. Whatever you have done is all right, but actually worship of the spiritual master will be done by all of my disciples on the 5th day of September, just one day after Janmashtami. That's 69, was one day after Janmashtami, it's the 5th of September. And the next year, 1 year later, August 1970, a letter to Bali Mardan. Quote, in the Mayavadi Sampradaya, they observe Guru Purnima Day to offer respect to the spiritual master. This system of offering respect to the spiritual master is current in all sections of Vedic followers, but so far we are concerned, the Gaudiya Sampradaya, on the appearance day of the spiritual master, our humble homage annually, and this particular auspicious moment is called the Vyasa Puja. No harm, but our Sampradaya practice is what we follow, and that's to be encouraged. Now, on this same Purnima day was the very wonderful event of the disappearance of Sanatana Goswami. Disappearance is not wonderful, but it's also at the same time auspicious, very auspicious, to be celebrated. So I'd like to speak something about Sanatana Goswami, and even specifically his disappearance, and to connect this with the next function, that is the initiation ceremony. If the babbling child doesn't stop babbling, you probably should take the babbling child to a different room, if you don't mind. Can you please take your babbling child to a different room? There's nothing wrong with children being children. They should be happy being children in the proper place. Amongst the followers of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, how many exalted, super exalted personalities are there? Many, many, many. And amongst them, particularly celebrated, are the 6 Goswamis. Now the 6 Goswamis, they also look up to Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar. But amongst the 6 Goswamis, chief, we can say, is Rupa Goswami. But we can also say, because Rupa Goswami looked up to his elder brother and respected his elder brother, not just like a younger brother respects an elder brother, but he respected him as guru. He restricted, he required having Sanatana Goswami approve whatever he wrote. That was his practice. And Sanatana Goswami was not one to exercise liberties, being, the elder brother and the respected guru, but he was looked up to, not only by Rupa Goswami, but for that matter, a very celebrated part of his life, because remember, before he was a follower of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he was Prime Minister in the government of Nawab Hussain Shah, which meant he was Prime Minister of about a third of India today. Now, it was a compromised position, being Prime Minister to a Muslim leader, but he was conscripted. He was threatened. The history says he was so much of a leader that Nawab called him to his palace and gave him flattering words, and then an option: you can either serve in my government, or I'll torture all the Vaishnavas in the land. Think about it. Let me know what you'd like to do. Of course, he didn't want either, but reluctantly he accepted that position, and he was very accomplished. It was very intelligent, in one sense, manipulatively intelligent of the Nawab, because the people were happy under the Prime Minister. Then he wasn't Sanatana Goswami. He and his brother became Sakra Malik and Dabir Khas. They took on even Muslim names. In any case, by cleverness and many arrangements, well, the arrangements were, while they were in this government post, they heard, they hadn't met, but they heard of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And so, having privileges, they sent brahmanas with letters to Mahaprabhu, requesting, Mahaprabhu, please deliver us from this very compromised situation. We want to be in your association only, in your service, not in the service of Nawab. No letters came back. Finally, one letter came back where Caitanya Mahaprabhu, in a bit of a riddle, because the letter might be intercepted by the Nawab or who knows what, and the message said that just like a woman who has a paramour, she does her service to her husband very nicely, so her husband won't suspect, but all the while she's expectantly awaiting the time when she can meet with her lover. So do your service like that. He didn't elaborate, so that they understood what that meant. I will come, and I'll deliver you. So meanwhile, just do your service so the Nawab won't suspect anything. And sure enough, Caitanya Mahaprabhu came. Many nice exchanges with them. This is important. Sanatana Goswami accepted the Diksha, according to Caitanya Charitamrita. he and Rupa accepted Diksha, and their names changed, Sanatana and Rupa. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu then very prudently accepted two advices from Sanatana Goswami. Shh. Wishful thinking. Sit in the corner and the child will not be a child. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Sanatana Goswami offered some advice. 2. 1. Don't go to Vrindavan like this. The tens of thousands of followers. You should enter Vrindavan alone as a sannyasi, or at most with one assistant. And the other advice was, while the Nawab is not causing any difficulty just now, he's wild, and at any moment he could do anything dangerous. Our desire has been fulfilled to be with you, but best if you leave as soon as possible. Not for his interest, but for Mahaprabhu's interest. Mahaprabhu considered both. He left, and they decided he was right. It's like Krishna taking advice from Uddhava. Not the same, but something like that. Krishna's omniscient, Mahaprabhu's omniscient, but he gave some service to Sanatana Goswami fitting his position. So the same thing happened when Sanatana Goswami finally escaped by clever means. He lied. Is it okay to lie if you're a devotee? And Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when there's some purpose like this, the purpose of the Lord to be served, he spoke something that was deceptive. He was put in chains by the Nawab, and the person who was to oversee him, he offered him a bribe. Gold coins, so many gold coins. And the jailer was reluctant, saying, if the Nawab comes to know, I'm dead. Then he gave him, here's what you can do. You can tell him, oh, he had to pass stool, so he went by the side of the river and he jumped in the river with the chains on. I tried to find him and I couldn't find him, he must have drowned. You can say that. And not only that, here's more gold coins. You put them right in front of him. And the jailer unlocked his chains, and off he went to meet Caitanya Mahaprabhu. In the course of his travels, he was married, but he didn't say Haribol to his wife. He just left. Something like what Vibhishan did when he left, or what Vidura did when he left. He just left. He met his brother-in-law in a mountain range, so he spent some time with his brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law wanted him to stay there. He said, no, I'm going to meet Lord Chaitanya. So then his brother-in-law gave him a nice chadar. It's described a woolen blanket, but fancy. He is on the path of renunciation, and when he came to the place in Prayag where Caitanya Mahaprabhu was staying, Tapan Mishra's home, Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, there's a great Vaishnava at the door. Please bring him in. Tapan Mishra went to the door and came back and said, there's no Vaishnava. There's a mendicant Muslim with a beard, but no Vaishnava. Lord Chaitanya said he's a Vaishnava. And he went outside and embraced Sanatana Goswami. He was very fond of, very affectionate. This is the second time they met. First time was at the place where the capital was, Ramakeli, then Prayag. Sanatana Goswami stayed with Caitanya Mahaprabhu for 2 months, daily getting spiritual instruction. Those spiritual instructions are recorded in a summary manner in Caitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya then instructed him, go to Vrindavan and remain in Vrindavan. After some time, you can come see me in Puri. Because Lord Chaitanya was on his way back from Vrindavan, heading for Puri. Sanatana Goswami stayed in Vrindavan for 1 year and then made an overland journey to visit Caitanya Mahaprabhu. In the course of Sanatana Goswami's travel, misfortune came. He took water from a place he shouldn't have, and as a result his body became infected with sores. And it's a particular type of sore that some are dry and itchy, and some are wet and yucky and smelly, called weeping sores. So that's the kind he got, and he thought, this is terrible. I'm going to Vrindavan for my benefit and to render service to Mahaprabhu, but look at this body. It's such a wretched condition. If I go to Vrindavan, I'll just make a fence. Excuse me, if I go to Puri, just make a fence. So he had made up his mind. There's a long narration. You can read the detail. Really, really nice. But sometime, maybe one time when I visit here, we'll have a whole discussion on Antya Lila Chapter 4, Sanatana Goswami's journey, and Mahaprabhu's testing him. The end of that pastime, Mahaprabhu took away the disease after testing and examining the extent of Sanatana Goswami's faithfulness to being eternally, absolutely, completely absorbed in Mahaprabhu's service. It's a very nice pastime. He stayed in Puri for 1 year, then returned to Vrindavan and lived there for the rest of his life. And the leadership potential or capacity that Sanatana Goswami had as the Prime Minister was exhibited in Vrindavan as well. It's described in Brihat, in Bhakti Ratnakar, it's described that he regularly would do madhukari, which means like a mendicant, he would go to homes and accept alms. And he became eventually the respected, like, village elder. He would go from one village to the next, stay in the village in the afternoon. They would be at the edge of the village because they knew he was coming, and they would receive him, had like a festival, reception festival. He would go and sit with them, have katha, have kirtan, and come to know all the details of marriages and children being born and who's having a marital problem and who has disease and everything and everything and everything and everything. And he would very affectionately address everyone's needs and spend the whole evening with the assembly of the people in that village. They looked up to him as their father, their spiritual father. And in the morning, after his morning duties, he'd leave the village and go to the next one, and they'd accompany him to the edge of the village, eager to see him come back again. And this way, he spent some of his time living like this. Just being a prime minister, so to speak, in Vrindavan amongst the Brijbasis. He loved them, they loved him, he was their leader, and he had such care for them. Now, there are two main, along with Rupa Goswami, he wrote books. And one of those primary writings was Brihat Bhagavatamrita. I'm going to shortly read a little passage from Brihad Bhagavatamrita that's connected to the holy name, connected to our initiation this evening. But it's an amazing literature that he not only wrote the book, it's in 2 parts, and with he wrote the commentary, put it on your bookshelf, it's about this big. Voluminous and very profound, very detailed, very insightful. It's like an adventure story. It's really fantastic and very deep. Inspiring, achieving the lotus feet of Krishna in a very profound way. There's several others, but his other primary literature is Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas is a how-to manual, in just like the procedures for deity worship, or procedure for everything. The procedures for how to observe Janmashtami, or how to observe the duties of a grahastha, how to perform the rituals for sannyas, Diksha ceremony, which we're having this evening. There's some verses. I'll recite one that's from Hari Bhakti Vilas on the meaning of initiation. And the book, Hari Bhakti Vilas, is largely attributed to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was a major writer when he was living as a young man in Sri Rangam, gave the document to Sanatana Goswami and asked him to edit and organize it nicely. So Sanatana Goswami is said to be the author, but we can also properly say Gopal Bhatta was co-author and wrote an introduction or preface to Hari Bhakti Vilas. A very important personality, very important literature. In one of the statements from Brihat Bhagavatamrita that I particularly like is when Gopakumar, this is in part 2, Gopakumar is moving on his way to Vaikuntha, and from Vaikuntha he goes to Goloka and reunites with Krishna. Before reaching Vrindavan, he has an encounter with Narada Muni, and one of the exchanges between Narada Muni and Gopakumar is this in relation to the initiation ceremony in particular. He explains that devotion is nourished by humility, and humility nourishes devotion. He explains one is the cause of the other, and the other is the cause of the one. It's not exactly a cause and effect, which comes first. One nourishes the other. And certainly, within the process of chanting, there's necessity for humility. Mahaprabhu teaches us that, Tranadapi Sunichena. And so Sanatana Goswami, in his own way, emphasized the same. In the introduction section of Brihat Bhagavatamrita, I'm just going to read one verse where Sanatana Goswami is describing what chanting the holy name means to him. It's 119. All glories to Lord Murari in the form of his all-ecstatic name. If any living being puts aside such tasks as meditation, ritual worship, and social duties, and even once takes the Lord's holy name, the name will grant him liberation. That holy name is the greatest source of eternal pleasure and is my life, my very life and ornament. Like the other Goswamis, Sanatana Goswami was very keen on the chanting of the holy name, One of the things he was certainly celebrated for was his worship of Madan Mohan. Nice long story of how that came about. But it's 7:30, so I won't go into a long story. But very intimate, very highly personal. He would talk with his deity, and the deity would talk with him. And here's one little... When he accepted the worship of the deity, because the deity informed the Brahmana who was being worshipped by, who was worshipping Madan Mohan, the deity had told the Brahmana, I want Sanatana Goswami to worship me. So he brought Sanatana Goswami, the deity. And he's quite a large deity. If you've been to Karoli, you've seen, he's quite a large deity. Sanatana Goswami said, I can't worship a deity. I'm a mendicant. I don't have anything. I don't have an altar. I don't have a home. I don't have anything. I can't have anything to offer. I can't accept. So the Brahmana went back to his home, and in a dream, the deity again appeared to the Brahmana and said, take me back. In the dream, he said, but I already did. And he said, no. He said, go again. He'll say yes. Because that night, Madan Mohan appeared in his Sanatana Goswami's dream and said, please take me. So Sanatana said, but how can I accept you? Because I don't have anything. Whatever you offer is okay. So it turned out there was a practice, nice story, a little bit long, but he had a practice of, from Madhukari, he would get some grain, some flour, some wheat flour, because wheat grows commonly, easily in that area, in UP. So he would get flour, he'd take flour, mix it with water, make a ball, put the ball in a fire, and then the outside of the ball would become black. He would remove the black, and then what was the inside, that was what he would offer to Madan Mohan. He called it buddy. It was called in the local language. So he would offer buddy to Madan Gopal, or Madan Mohan. Actually, the deity was initially named Madan Gopal. He changed the name to Madan Mohan. So Madan Gopal. And one day Madan Gopal said, can you put a little salt? And he said, I don't have salt. I told you, we have to accept whatever I have. If you want, I can take you back to the Brahman that was worshipping you in Mathura. No, it's okay. Then Madan Mohan made a very nice arrangement, long story, but there was a salt merchant who had a boatload of salt that was traveling from, heading for Agra. The boat got stuck in a sand dune. He tried everything to get free from the sand dune, nothing worked. One little village boy, it turned out it was Madan Mohan or Madan Gopal, said, there's a sadhu up on that hill. Go ask him. You get his blessings, and I'm sure you'll be okay. You get your boat free. So he went, he found Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami said, over there is the deity. You offer your prayers to the deity, and everything will work out. So he offered his prayers to the deity. When he got back to his boat, the boat was freed. So he decided when he sold that boatload of salt, he would bring all the profit back to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami used that money to build a temple for Madan Gopal, or Madan Mohan. And that's the temple that we see. It's a very beautiful temple. There's other descriptions of the merchant, with other resources also built the temple. That's another version of that story. But the kind of intimacy in his dealings with his deity, very, very personable deity worship, and finally on his, I mean, there's many more things to say, but one of the places where he liked to say, in addition to in Vrindavan town, was by the side of Manasi Ganga. And he had a place that he also stayed by Radhakund. But Manasi Ganga was the place where he left his body. He circumambulated Govardhan Hill regularly, daily, as did Raghunath Das Goswami, till a very old age. And he got so old it was difficult for him. So Krishna came and said, you don't have to do this anymore. You're so old. You're at the stage of spiritual perfection. He said, but I've taken a vow. So Krishna said, here's a Govardhan Shila. I'll place my foot on the Shila and my walking stick on the Shila and a calf print on the Shila. You just circumambulate this 5 times and that's as good as walking around Govardhan Hill. So that's what he did. Until the very day that he died, left his body at the side of Manasi Ganga. So it was decided by his younger brother, Rupa Goswami, that his body should be taken in procession. Big, because he's their leader. All the Vrijbasis loved him. So in a big festival, big procession, instruments and brahmanas and kirtan and everything, from Govardhan Hill back to Vrindavan town, his body was placed in samadhi behind the Madan Mohan temple, and that same Govardhan Shila that has the mark of Krishna's footprint, etc., was taken to the temple of Jiva Goswami, the Radha Damodar temple. And you can see, it's in front of the Radha Damodar deity altar, is that quite large Govardhan Shila that was Sanatana Goswami's Govardhan Shila. This is his disappearance day, Sanatana Goswami, so these are just a few things to say in honor, in memory, and appreciation of Sanatana Goswami. Now, the verse in Hari Bhakti Vilas I mentioned, it's a verse where the description is the process of Diksha is a process by which that which is like alchemy has the capacity to transform base metal into gold. So the process of Diksha is likened to taking an ordinary person and transforming the ordinary person into a twice-born person. Dvijatvam jayate nirnam. So Sanatana Goswami is a great acharya, and the acharya of our principal acharya, Rupa Goswami. So it's an auspicious day to have a Diksha ceremony. How are we doing with, you ready for, okay. Now, one of our participants in Diksha is over here in the computer, or at least virtually here, viewing because somehow her son contracted COVID and etc. So she thought it was best that she not come. So we're seeing her virtually. Hare Krishna Mataji. She's smiling, but remotely. So there will be a virtual initiation for her, and where are the other two? Can they come sit over here by the yagya? Do they need a chair? Okay. Okay. So you take over from here. You lead the ritual part. What? You do whatever you want to do. Go ahead, proceed.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om apavitra pavitra va sarvavastagato piva yasmarat pundarikaksham savayam metre suci Shri Vishnuho Shri Vishnuho Shri Vishnuho Jayo Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. दीप प्रज्वलित ना अग्नि प्रज्वलित সুদাম শঙ্খ বাজাও এখানে শঙ্খটাকে নিয়ে চলে আসুন শঙ্খটাকে নিয়ে চলে আসুন মাঝে মাঝে বাজাবে ওম कर्व्यादम अग्निम प्रणयम दूरे यमराज गच्छतम रिप्रवाहम ओम भर्भव स्वाहा ओम जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्योदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती इति नामिने श्रीवार्षभानवि देवी द्वैताय कृपाब्धये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायिनी प्रभवे नमः माधुर्य ज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुग भक्ति दो श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्ति दिनतारिणे श्रीरूपानुगो विरुद्ध धंतहारिणे नम गौर किशराय साक्षाद वैराग्य मूर्तये विप्रलंबर संबोध पादम भुजायते नमः नम भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगवरायते श्री गौराभिभाव भूमिस्तम निर्दिष्टम सुजनम वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथायते नमः वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्य वैष्णवेभ्य नमः 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 कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिसे नमः पंचतत्मात्मकं कृष्ण भक्त रूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताक्षं नमामि भक्त शक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशु गोपिकांत राधकांत नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरे वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यं श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः जयतं सुरतौ पंगर्मौ मंदमतर्गते मत्सर्वस पदं भोज राधा मदन मनो दिव्यद वृंदा कल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नगार सिंहासनस्थौ श्री श्री श्रील राधा गोविंद पृष्ठलिभिसेवं मन्य स्मरामि श्रीमान रासरसारंभे वंशी बटतटस्थितो कर्षण वेणु स्वर्निर्गोपी गोपीनाथ ये स्तुने जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवसादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शांति पाठ।
A procedure that I am accustomed to is someone is going to say something about our three initiates. And so it looks like you're the one that's going to say something about your grandparents.
Hare Krishna. Of course, as Maharaj said, today is a very special day. It's Guru Purnima. It's also the disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami. Coincidentally, it's also my Nani's birthday today. So it's very, yeah. So my grandparents were introduced to ISKCON about 11 years ago by my parents and have become some of the most diligent devotees I know. My Nani has been chanting 16 rounds consistently every day for the past 8 to 9 years. And my Nana has memorized every Bhagavad Gita verse, its translation, and has understood Srila Prabhupada's meaning behind it. They love doing services, they love listening to bhajans, making garlands, cooking prashadam. However, I think the most inspirational part is their unwavering faith in Srila Prabhupada's teachings, as well as their faith in Krishna. Their bhakti is something the entire Thakur family looks up to, and we do our best to follow in their footsteps. While I personally am the most excited to hear their new names, I'm also very excited to see them grow as devotees, as disciples, and to follow Maharaj's instructions. I hope that I always see a bead bag in my Nani's hand and one of Srila Prabhupada's books in my Nana's. Today, our entire family asks for your blessings as two of our 12-member army. They take a huge step in their spiritual journey. Please pray that they continue receiving Nitai Sachinandan's blessings, Prabhupada's blessings, and now Maharaj's blessings as well. Vanchakalpa Tarubhrisha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patita Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Thank you. Haribol.
Okay. So they're going to need translations? Okay. Obeisances before Prabhupada, then come over here. Both of them together. What's their age? 67 and 62. And they're home? Where? Okay. Bihar. Gandhigram. Wow. Bhagavad Gita Loka. Does he know the procedure? Let him know. There's 3 vows he'll be asked to take before the deities and the devotees. Can't hear. Okay. Okay. No, wait. Shh. You're going to chant how many rounds each day minimum? 16 minimum. More is nice too, especially Ekadasi. Okay. And the 4 principles you can say in your native tongue. Say. He's learned English. Okay. And you'll make your best effort to continue to follow Prabhupada's teachings for the remainder of your life. Okay. Your initiated name is Narayana Kavacha Das. You'll find the details of Narayana Kavacha in 6th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. You can translate later. Okay. And same vows. You'll chant how many rounds a day in your beats? 16 minimum. Minimum. And the 4 rules that you'll follow? Okay, she got him. And like your good husband, you'll continue following Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Right? Okay, very good. So your initiated name is Renuka Devadasi. From Renu to Renuka. Do you know who is Renuka? The wife of Jamadagni. and father of Parashuram, or mother of Parashuram. Jamadagni's wife, mother of Parashuram, Renuka. Okay, so you can go back, sit down. Give her the microphone. She's going to say something. Pandemic has created some obstacles. And it's a very interesting way to take initiation. So, you go ahead and speak something. It's off, you have to put it on.
Hare Krishna.
There we go.
Sorry. Hare Krishna Maharaj. It is my privilege and utmost pleasure to say something about Sushilpa Mataji. Words are not enough. She is so amazing. I'm just... She definitely has a lot of... she did a lot of devotional service in her past lives, because of which she has been doing amazing devotional service ever since she came into contact with devotees, with the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. We met, she came into contact with Krishna consciousness at the start of pandemic. So we were just talking about the pandemic. So she's, we conducted one seminar on how to deal with coronavirus, and she was part of that. And then after that, it has been just like such a positive slope. She immediately started reading Bhagavad Gita, and she started listening to so many lectures of devotees. And she and her daughter, both of them, they have been inspiring each other. Her daughter was just 8 years old when they started this, and we were amazed at how Mataji has been bringing up her daughter. And the daughter sometimes teaches, like, it's a very, very nice relationship of mother and daughter supporting each other in Krishna consciousness. And after doing Bhagavad Gita, Mataji started Bhakti Shastri course, and she has been like the topper. Her answers, I understand from my husband, who is the instructor, are just very, very devotional, and you can see the depth of her answers. So she's doing amazing services. She's serving in the temple. She's trying to serve Shri Shinitai Sachinandana in the temple, in the kitchen services, and I think paying a lot of attention on her daughter to bring her up in a Krishna conscious way, which is, I think, is extremely important service. And I don't know if and yeah, when she came to know about the glories of the holy name right in the beginning, Mataji started chanting not just 16 rounds, she chanted 64 rounds for, I think, 3 months, which was unbelievable. I mean, she said that I have lost so much time because I didn't know about the glories of the holy name, that I don't want to waste any moment, and I want to like kind of catch up for all these past years when I didn't know about Krishna. And that was so inspiring for me personally, when she used to tell me every day, no, not for the 64 rounds. She was chanting that, and after that now she's on 16 rounds consistently because she wants to do some other services as well. And she also sends me a report, and it's just amazing to see how committed she is. Like, she gets up early in the morning, does her rounds, and I wish her all the best. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we can't give you your beads. What? No, just right here. So you know what the 3 vows are, and you can just respond. I guess I'll be able to hear you. How many rounds you'll chant every day, minimum?
Minimum 16 good rounds.
16 good rounds. Good luck. and the 4 rules that you follow.
No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit.
Okay, and you'll continue as you've been doing, carefully following Prabhupada's teachings. Very good. Initiated name is Sarva Shakti Devi Dasi. I'm gonna. It's enough. I'm gonna give your beads to Mataji, and you can see that she gets them. And you can get a set of neck beads that you can take to her also. She can have some neck beads to wear. And we can proceed with the Yagya. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We'll see you when we come back. COVID free, right? Haribo.
Shanti Bhatt. Akshat. Akshat. हरि ओम सहना भवन्तु सहना भुनक्तु सह वीर्यकरवावहै तेजस्विनामधितम् अस्तु मम विदिर्षवायै ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम शांति जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम पुनन्तु मादेव जनः पुनन्तु मनसा धिया पुनन्तु विश्वभूतानि जातवेद पुनः इमाम् ओम अस्य करुणपुण्याहं भवन्तु भ्रमन्तु ओम पुण्याहं ओम पुण्याहं ओम उद्गात विसुकने साम गायसि ब्रह्मपुत्री वासावनसि शंससि बृहसि सभाजिसि सुमातरि अवित्यायया सर्वतोतनाः सुखने भाद्रमावदा विश्वतोनाः सुखने पुण्यावदः ओम अस्य करुण स्वस्ति भवन्तु भ्रमन्तु ओ आयुष्मते स्वस्तिः ओम स्वस्तिः ओम स्वस्तिः ओम स्वस्तिः ओम स्वस्ति न इंद्र अथ विधिस्रवः स्वस्ति नः पुष्य विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति न त्राक्षैः अरिष्टनेमि स्वस्ति न बृहस्पति ददातु ओम अस्य करुणरिद्धं भवन्तु भवन्तु ओम रिध्यतम् ओम रिध्यतम् ओम रिध्यतम् ओम रिध्यं समसानुयम भुजम् आनमन्त्रमं सारथेयपीयूतं यसन पक्ममादु गस्वान्त्रोयि भूतास्यः अस्मिनि कामप्रः ओम स्वस्ति नो गोविन्द स्वस्ति न अच्युतानन्तो स्वस्ति न वासुदेव विष्णुदातु स्वस्ति न नारायण नरभै स्वस्ति न पद्मनाभ पुरुषोत्तम दातु स्वस्ति न विश्वक्सेन विश्वसरी स्वस्ति न हृषिकेश हरिदातु स्वस्ति न विनते हरि स्वस्ति नंदनासु धनुर्भागवत दातु स्वस्ति स्वस्ति सुमंगलकेश अथ महान श्री कृष्ण सदानंद घन सर्वेश्वर दातु ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम तद विष्णु परमं पदम सदा पश्यन्ति सूर्यादिव्या चक्षुरातदं तद्विपासे विपन्नाव जागरवंशं समुदे विष्णु परमं पदम ओम तद विष्णु परमं पदम सदा पश्यन्ति सूर्यादिव्या चक्षुरातदं तद्विपासे विपन्नाव जागरवंशं समुदे विष्णु परमं पदम ओम तद विष्णु परमं पदम सदा पश्यन्ति सूर्यादिव्या चक्षुरातदं तद्विपासे विपन्नाव जागरवंशं समुदे विष्णु परमं पदम जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम गोविंदो गोविंद गोविंद ओम तत्सद्य ब्राह्मण दित्वा प्राब्धे श्री श्वेतावरा कल्पे वैवस्ताक्षमन्वन्तरे अष्टविंशति कलियुगे प्रथम संध्यायां ब्राह्मण विंशति वर्तमानायं पंचत्रिशंस गौराब्धे पूर्णिमा मासे गौर पूर्णिमा तिथो नक्षत्र पूर्वाषाढ़े यगा विद्युत्रिः कर्णभाव भाद्रः गौड़ीय वैष्णव वामन मासे पूर्णिमंती आषाढ़े बुधवार विनयं भूमंडले जम्बुद्वीपे भारतवर्षे भारतखंडे मेघभूतस्य सुमरे दक्षिणे लवणावृतस्य उत्तरकोणे गंगाया पूर्वभागे श्री मायपुरधाम्ने हिलशिवरधाम्ने श्री विग्रह ब्राह्मण वैष्णव वाहनि सन्निधौ श्री श्रीनिताय सच्चिनंदन श्री श्री राधा माधव श्री श्री नृसिंहदेव भगवान पंचतत्व प्रीत्यार्थम एवं गुण विशेष विशिष्टायम अस्मिन् शुभ दिवसे नाम क्या नाम नारायण कवच दासस्य अच्युतगात्रस्य नाम रेणुका देवी दासस्य अच्युतगात्रस्य सर्वादविनस्खंडनम श्री कृष्ण चरण प्रीतिकामः ओम करिष्ये ओम तद विष्णु परमं पद सदा पश्यन्ति सूर्यादिव्य चक्षुरा तदं तद्विपास विपन्नाव जाग्रवंशं समजे विष्णु परम पदम ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम शांति। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम ओम भोर्भुवः स्वाहा इदं विष्णुवेदं नमः स्वाहा ओम भोर्भुवः स्वाहा इदम् अच्युतायदं नमः स्वाहा ओम स्वाहा इदं नारायणम् इदं नमः ओम भोर्भुवः स्वाहा इदम् अनन्तायदं नमः आमंत्रित होम ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितम् ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः स्वाहा इदं गुरुवेदं नमः ओम श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं स्वाहा इदं रसाचार्याय इदं नमः वन्दे अहं श्रीगुरु श्रीचरण श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुण रघुनाथं नित्यं तत्संजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूपरिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादं सगुण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं स्वाहा इदं गुरुगौराङ्गाय राधाकृष्ण सर्ववैष्णवतत्त्वेभ्यम् इदं नमः ओम नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने स्वाहा इदं संस्थापकाचार्य इदं नमः not necessary no one time only ओम नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती इति नामिने स्वाहा इदं परमे गुरवे इदं नमः ओम श्री वार्षभानवि देवी द्वैताय कृपाद्वये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञानदायिनी प्रभवे नमः स्वाहा इदं परम गुरुवे इदं नमः ओम माधुर्जल प्रेमाढ्य श्री रूपानुग भक्तिदो श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमस्तुते स्वाहा इदं परम गुरुवे इदं नमः ओम नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्ते दिनतारिणे रूपानुगो विरुद्धापसिद्धं तद्धन्तहारिणे स्वाहा इदं परमे गुरुवे इदं नमः ओम नमो गौरकिशराय साक्षाद वैराग्य मूर्तये विप्रलंबर सांबद पदंबुजायते नमः स्वाहा इदं परम गुरुवे इदं नमः ओम नमो महापदन्य ओम नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगोवराय ते स्वाहा इदं महागुरुवेदं नममा ओम गौराविर्भाव भूमिस्त्वं निर्दिष्टं स्वजनं प्रिय वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः स्वाहा ओम वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव पतितानं पावनेभ्य वैष्णवेभ्य नमः नमः स्वाहा इदं सर्ववैष्णवेभ्य इदं नमः ओम पंचतत्मात्मकं कृष्ण भक्त रूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताक्षं नमामि भक्त शक्तिकं स्वाहा इदं पंचतत्वाय इदं नमः ओम नमो महावदन्या इदं गौरा ओम कृष्ण हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेशु गोपिकांत राधाकांत नमस्तुते स्वाहा इदं कृष्णा इदं नमः ओम जयता सुरतो पंगर्मो मंद मतर्गति मत सर्वस पदम भुज राधा मदन महनो स्वाहा इदं संवदा देवाय इदं नमः ओम दिव्य वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद नगार सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद्राधर श्रीलगोविंद पृष्ठ स्वामी स्वाहा इदम अभिदाय गोविंदाय इदं नमः ओम श्रीमान रासरसारमि वंशी बटतटस्थितो कर्षणेनु स्वनिर्गोपी गोपीनाथ ये स्तुने स्वाहा इदं प्रयोजनादि गोपीनाथ इदं नमः ओम तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये स्वाहा इदं राधिका इदं नमः ओम जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा स्वाहा इदं पंचतत्वाय इदं नमः ओम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे स्वाहा ओम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे स्वाहा ओम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे स्वाहा सर्वसाखी माता जी अच्युत भूल गया था व्यस्त समस्त महाव्युत हम ओम भोर्भुव स्वाहा इदं विष्णुवेदं नमः ओम भोर्भुव स्वाहा इदं अच्युताय इदं नमः ओम स्वाहा इदं नारायणं नमः ओम भोर्भुव स्वाहा इदं अनंताय इदं नमः खड़ा हो जाए ओम नमः ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्रह्मण्य हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमः नमः स्वाहा ओम नमः ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्रह्मण्य हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमः नमः स्वाहा ओम नमः ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्रह्मण्य हिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमः नमः स्वाहा ओम पुण्यमादा पुण्यदुम पुण्यत पुण्यमासित पुण्यस्य पुण्यमादाय पुण्यस्य वस्यसिते हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओके नाउ शांति दान यस प्रभु शांति दान ओम ध्याय शांति अंतरिक्ष शांति पृथ्वी शांति आप शांति वायु शांति तेज शांति औषधय शांति लोक शांति ब्राह्मण शांति वैष्णव शांति शांतिरस्तु द्योतिरस्तु ओम शांति शांति ओम शांति। अपराध शोधन मंत्र हाथ जोड़ अपराध ओम अंगहीन क्रियाहीनम विधिहीनम च तद्भवेत् अस्तु तत्सर्वमिच्छिद्रं कृष्ण कार्ष्ण प्रसादते जत् किंचित वैगुण्यं जातं तद्दश प्रसमानयो श्री कृष्ण स्मरणं करामि। जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। परिक्रमा शंख बजाओ।
राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्णा
कृष्ण कृष्णा
हरे हरे।
हरे
हरे राम राम
राम
हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, just a humble request. Today is the anniversary of the disappearance of Kumar Prabhu's mother. What's her name?
Bharati. Bharati.
So